Hey everyone, I'm Steph,
I'm Megan.
and welcome to another episode of Late Night Reads.
This week we are talking contemporary romance and covering Till Summer Do Us Part by Meghan Quinn.
So let's start with why we selected Till Summer Do Us Part. First up, we are huge fans of everything Meghan Quinn writes. She's like
Yeah.
the queen of rom-com with, I think, some of the best spicy scenes that I've read. So good. So that's why we knew this book was definitely going on our TBR. And once we read it, what's not to love? Like,
Mhm.
seriously, I
So good.
think that Wilder might be one of the best like main male characters that she's ever written.
He's really good.
He's really good. Plus, we have not done a book yet with an actual cock piercing. So
I was so excited.
I was so excited as well. There was Googling that happened.
Lots of inappropriate NSFW Googling where it's like, wait, what kind of piercing is this? Oh my gosh, how do they do that? And then we're like, well, what's the female version? And we were like, oh,
Where
oh.
oh, we're
Like,
gonna talk
that
more
must
about that.
hurt. Yeah.
I know, right? And so the other thing we loved about this book is while there are countless laughs, it also does have like a softer side and shows both the main characters dealing with baggage, like literally everyone in the world has right now, and how they work through it to end up in what seems to be at the very end a very healthy relationship.
We shall find out. But here are a few things that you should know about the author, Meghan Quinn. So, she's a New York Times, Amazon, and USA Today bestselling author. She has written nearly 80 books and typically releases multiple books each year. So, this year it looks like we're getting a total of 4 new books. Very exciting there. She is a wife and adoptive mother, and she has one of the best social presences of any author. She posts multiple times a day. Her videos are hilarious to watch. Like, if you're just down for like a good time, like watching somebody just be goofy, like she's great. I love her.
Especially all the stuff she's been posting about this video specifically and some of the
Yeah.
hijinks that happen in it.
Yeah, so
So,
good.
so good. But before we jump in this episode, as normal, it's going to contain spoilers. We're assuming that if you're listening, you have read this book. You have been warned. And this book does contain a small number compared to most of our books in terms of sensitive topics. We got a little anxiety, depression, divorce, and emotional abuse.
I think that's like our shortest list ever.
It was, and felt like maybe some of them might be a little bit of a stretch, but
Yeah.
included them just to be safe.
Just to be safe. But now let's talk tropes. So, first we have the fake relationship trope. So, they are trying to fit in at work. Scottie is pretending to be married, but she's having some problems, which leads to a crazy situation of needing to find a fake husband in less than 24 hours. No big deal.
It'll be fine.
Next week, it'll be fine. It'll be all good. Yeah. But next we have best friend sibling trope. So Wilder happens to be the brother of Scottie's best friend, Micah, who introduces the two of them when Scottie needs to have a fake husband. Thank you so much. Always great to have a best friend who does that. Next, we have forced proximity. So their marriage counselor recommends they attend marriage camp. Great. Which Wilder quickly signs him up for. No big deal, 15 grand, just drop of a hat. But it requires them to be in the same place, in the same cabin for 8 days. Meanwhile, like she doesn't know this guy, so it's like, okay. And we also have opposites attract. Wilder and Scottie are literally completely different when the book first starts. Wilder is carefree and sees life as fun and up for anything, while Scottie is highly guarded and does not let down her walls for anyone. Then, of course, we have our favorite trope, one bed. Wilder and Scottie have to stay in the same cabin with only one bed at camp. Plus, then we eventually get a two-person sleeping bag situation, but I think that still counts as like a one bed slash one camp or, one tent kind of a trope. Did we mention that this cabin is also a sex cabin?
Right?
So I wouldn't mind having that kind of a cabin. It'd be great. But lots of fun tropes here. Cannot wait to get to this one bed one, though. It's going to be
It's
good.
so good. Okay. There's a ton of drama in this book, and it starts out with Scottie, who's this 29-year-old divorcee, and she is, I feel like this is how every great romance starts out, which is you are not looking for a man. You're just like out there enjoying life. You're She's moved to New York City. She works at a place called Butter Putter. And I'm like, where does Meghan Quinn come up with these names?
Butter Putter. That almost sounds like a sex shop.
It sounds really dirty. When I first read it, I did not think golf. I thought something else completely inappropriate uh, compared to golf.
Yeah.
And you have
Might still
Scottie.
get a hole in one, though.
Well, you're lucky.
Oh, you're lucky, yeah.
We'll find out later if Scottie was lucky.
Yeah.
And she's trying to regain some of her confidence that her ex-husband Matt destroyed. So I don't know. Someone needs to ask Meghan Quinn this, but there has to have been a Matt who has wronged her or someone else in her life at some point, because there are numerous assholes named Matt that exist in all of her books. And they're all different. I assume they're all different Matts. But like that tends to be the name of like the asshole ex in a lot of her books. So
yeah, must be.
But the crux of the story is when like Scottie pretends to be married at work because like everyone at Butter Putter is married and she's feeling super left out because of it. So she makes like what I would say is like a rash decision to fit in and like casually mentions like, I'm going to be going antiquing with my husband over the weekend. And then douchey Chad. And I love how she refers to them throughout the book as like the Chads and the Brads. Yeah. Because that feels really appropriate. And he's suspicious and calls out like, you're not wearing a wedding ring. So, and you've not mentioned you have a husband before. So, instead of doing like, I don't know, the responsible adult thing, which is like, yeah, I'm not married or I was married or something like that. She like doubles down even harder. Like, I'm not wearing a ring because like my husband and I are having problems. Like, way to go, assholes. Like, thanks for like bringing up the hard stuff. Like, that's how I just was like, yes, drop the mic. And
yeah,
it like,
right.
Obviously everyone's like, oh God, right? And then you think like at that point, like you would think it's, water under the bridge, it's fine. Except her boss, Ellison, happens to be married to a marriage counselor. And it's like, you should go see him tomorrow. And I think there's this point where she's, right? Like where Ellison's like, unless that's like too awkward for you. And where Scottie could be like, yeah, it's too awkward to go see your husband. She's like, no, I'll text my husband. And like I can just see her like pretending to text someone on her phone.
Like really, she's in her notes section going do A B C D. Yeah. Yeah.
Like or searching through her phone, like who have I dated recently or ever that might be willing to do this? And she agrees to go see this marriage counselor and has to find a husband, as you said, in like less than 24 hours. Like all I thought was, what could possibly go wrong? And I had thought of a lot of things that could have went wrong. None of them prepared me for this book.
Absolutely not. Could not. But you know what? Thank God for best friends, specifically Micah, because like, oh, godsend. So he suggests that Scottie pretend that his brother is her husband. And he's just like, yeah, let me just text my bro really quick. And his brother automatically agrees without needing any details. He's like, yeah, sure, I'm in, like whatever. But apparently it's because this guy sold his app business a long time ago for like a ton of money. So he's like loaded. And he's just a 27-year-old, retired, nothing better to do than just pretend to be somebody's husband that he's never met. Cool, great. And he's also currently in an improv class. And he's like, this would be a great opportunity for me to like hone my skills and like be in my improv element. And you're like, this is not a game. This is somebody's life. But I mean, sure, have fun, I guess. So then it's time for Wilder and Scottie to meet, and he's not at all what she's expecting in terms of like attire or personality. She's like, he looks like a hipster version of Prince Eric, but she might be slightly turned on by his lip ring. She's like, ooh, I could get hooked on that. But she makes it very clear that her goal is just get the situation over with as quickly as possible. And he reiterates his excitement to use his improv skills. It's very obvious that this is not going to go well for Scottie, not going to go according to plan. So we walk into the therapist office and it seriously like throws you off. It looks like a crappy room filled with random sports memorabilia and like boxes and boxes of stuff everywhere. And the therapist walks in and his attire is like the weirdest thing. He's just like all mixed matched and like just wearing like maybe like a Hawaiian shirt or like something shirt and just like weird shorts and just like strange. You would not walk in there and be like, I'm going to trust this guy with my marriage. No. So the attire, again, doesn't give the vibe. And apparently he's just like really big marriage counselor. And of course, Wilder, the therapist, his name's Sanders, hit it off. They're like bros automatically. And Wilder goes off the deep end with some of his answers to this therapist's questions. For example, when asked if he and Scottie, or Pips, as he suddenly decided to give for that nickname, like to play games, he's like, oh yeah, lots of games in the bedroom. Which mortifies Scottie. She's like, oh my God, what are you? No, improv back, improv back.
I don't know you. That's not what he meant. I think this guy meant like, do you like to play Monopoly?
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's like, or do you guys have fun playing Uno? Like, come on. And he doubled down. He double downs so much harder. Like, he makes it seem like now he's like, oh, well, she doesn't want kids and I do, and that's why we're fighting. He's like, but, there's this one time she accidentally zipped up my penis skin in a sleeping bag zipper, and you're like, what? How can you improv that, by the way? Like, I'm just like, I took improv and I'm just like, never in a million years would I say, oh, yeah, I accidentally zipped up my husband's dick.
That's where all the fighting started, was from the penis zipper incident, where I accidentally zipped it up and then he made me a shirt to like commemorate it, and that pissed me off. And now our marriage is over. Like,
Meghan Quinn, where do you come up with this stuff? Like, I don't even know.
So I don't know if it's still on, but like a long time ago, there used to be a show like on like TLC or something like that was like sex sent me to the ER.
Oh,
and
no.
Yes. And there was all these stories, and it was like real stories, like, but like acted out, right? I don't think it was like the real people that were doing them, talking about like these sex stories that sent people to the ER. And all I thought was this one of them? Did she get this from sex stories sent me to the ER? Because I'm sure this has probably happened. Like, I'm sure some guy has had his penis skin like zipped up in a zipper.
Yeah.
I would assume like by himself, not necessarily by someone else.
I mean, who knows? I don't.
It would be really hard to like, I'm just like, where were you if you were in a sleeping bag? And I just have questions.
I'm just like,
do you know what I mean? Like, why weren't you turned around?
Yeah.
Why was your penis like that close to the zipper?
Yeah, that doesn't work. Like,
I guess that's a poor choice.
I guess that's like a common fear though for guys, but not necessarily like a sleeping bag zipper. It's like their jeans zipper, like,
yes,
you're in a rush not to get like caught doing something and you zip it up and you accidentally like zip up like your foreskin or something, or like your scrotum. I don't know. I feel like that's more likely than like a sleeping bag incident. Which then later when they're in a sleeping bag, I was like, is this bringing back like fake trauma for them?
Is this going to really happen now?
That's what I was curious. It's like, what if that actually happens? And it's like, not
funny.
Again. So good. So good.
So what I love about this is like, he just keeps trying to get like Scottie to engage, because a lot of improv, if you've ever taken it, it's like yes and, right? So he keeps trying to like level up the conversation and poke at her to get her to start participating. And finally it's like she snaps, and she does. And then she starts like dishing out crap to him too, which when I was reading this, it felt like an old married couple. Like they started fighting about like fairly normal things, minus the penis skin situation once we moved on from that. And so she is trying to like reel back into like the whole point, which is, I want this situation to be over. I want like my fake marriage to be over, so everyone at work will leave me alone. And Sanders is like, I refuse to give up on you. I can sense your energy. And I'm like, God damn it, Sanders. Bro, like you're not helping. And then he's like, we have this 8-day marriage camp that I'm running in the Catskills, which immediately made me think of Dirty Dancing.
Yes.
So that's like just so for everyone, the visual that I have is that we were at Dirty Dancing camp. And it starts on Monday. And before Scottie can like say the words no, Wilder's like, we'd love to go. Just right there. Just clearly
and she's just like, this motherfucker. What?
Right?
Stop.
I'm like, Wilder, have you been in a relationship? Because you never agreed to do something with your significant other, real or fake, without speaking to them. That's why you say, like, let me ask my wife, let me ask my girlfriend, let me ask my boyfriend, let me ask my husband, let me ask my partner. You don't just like sign someone up to go to marriage camp for 8 days when you're not actually married.
Right? Yeah.
Crazy idea. Insane. Crazy idea. So Scottie is super not thrilled. Not thrilled. But like, who would be at this point? You don't know this guy. He seems legitimately crazy. Wilder's like, why are you so upset? Like, I'm paying for it. It's only 15K for a life experience. What?
Okay. This
Okay.
isn't like somebody's hobby. Oh.
Right? Well, and I also want to be like, if you're gonna spend 50K, can we go to like Tahiti?
Yeah.
Like, can we go somewhere more exciting than marriage camp?
Yeah.
And he's like,
Fake
you need
marriage
a
camp.
fake marriage camp, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think it's anything like what it, I don't think they're imagining at this point what it turns out to be. And he's like, you need to loosen up. And like, rightfully so. I think that is something that Scottie definitely needs to do. But like, she also now is worried that she's going to get fired because now she has to go to marriage camp with her fake husband for 8 days and she's been lying. And like, Wilder's solution is like, let's go. We'll act like snarly towards each other and then like pretend to fall back in love. And we can keep this straight up for a couple of months until you move on to another job. Like, I'll show up at any work related events for like 6 months if you need me. And I'm just like, what? What?
Kind of reminds me of the movie like The Wedding Date, Just like,
Yes.
but instead, like, he's doing it for free and he's paying the money. And you're like,
Because he's bored. Because he's bored. Yeah. He has nothing else to do. He volunteers as much as he can and he's bored.
Yeah.
And he thought, why not play fake husband? It'd be real. This would be fun.
Yeah.
Sure.
So then Scottie gets back to work. Because remember, she had to do this in the morning, like 7 a.m., right before she had to go to work. And she learns that pretty much her entire office is also going to this marriage camp, including her boss. So I'm not going to lie. Right here, I was just like, this is seriously like against an HR. Like, this is an HR violation. Like, there's no way that like this should be allowed for like her boss to like infiltrate into her fake marriage. But like if it was a real marriage, it's like, no, like this is so crossing a line. This is not okay. And like at that point, like my wheels were spinning on like how many HR problems you have right here. I was just like, oh my God, this is a nightmare.
Butter Putter's team building activity, marriage camp for everyone.
Yeah. Whew. Lovely. So yeah, and also like her boss is going to this camp and you're like, fuck. But that's when she also learns during some kind of interesting back and forth texting with Wilder that they both happen to like the same candy, Nerds Clusters. And you're like, well, that's a good thing to have in common. And then they find out, oh, by the way, we're going to share a bed. Yay. We're like, yay. We're like, yay. And even Wilder's like, oh, cool. No wonder. It's fine. And she's like, no, I don't know you. No. But on the way to camp, Scottie's and like, I'm going to lay down some rules for you, buddy, because seems like you need some because your name is Wilder and you are just wild all over the place. So she's like, I can't have you going off script like you did last time. And so she's like, okay, number one, we should never split up because if we're separated, then we just can't stand as like a united front. So like we need to just like always be on the same page at all times. She's like, we need to be affectionate, but not overly affectionate. So we can do like hand holding, maybe pelvis to pelvis hugs. You're like, okay.
Just like that. Like,
who says that? And he's like, crotch to crotch. And she's like, no.
That's
like, how about just a hug?
When I read that and he was like the pelvis to pelvis, and then she like joked about like side hugs, which it reminded me of like the Duggars were famous for side hugs.
Yeah.
And then he said crotch to crotch hugs. I was like, is he in like 8th grade?
Crotch
like,
to
is
crotch.
He in a middle schooler going like, I gave her a crotch to crotch hug today. Like,
I gave her a crotch hug. Yeah.
I'm just like,
crisscross applesauce crotch. Mm-hmm. Maybe. Yeah. So no side hugs, no make room for Jesus hugs. It's going to be full Monty, bring your body
crotch hugs.
Or I call it chest to chest, just like,
yeah.
Woo. But anyway, so crotch to crotch. And then another rule is also like, she says, we need to figure out a better plan about what we're actually fighting about and not just random crap that you come up with on the top of your head. Like, let's discuss this ahead of time, please. And then she's like, also, like, Wilder, you cannot become friends with the Brads and Chads. She's like, you are on my team. You are here for me. You are not to become bestie buddies with these guys. Like, they're dicks and I don't like them. And if you're on my side, you need to be. So, and then the final rule is no looking, touching, or snooping around my stuff. And he's like, okay. But I mean, let's be honest. Like, we also were like, how long is it going to take for him until he breaks every single one of those rules? He does not come across as a guy who likes to be by the book at all. I mean, clearly, like, he's just like, no, I'm going to do what I want. So they arrive at camp, and Scottie is surprised to learn that she can't have her phone for the entire camp. She's like, what? And it's something that apparently Wilder, like, knew about, but he forgot to tell her. He's like, oh, yeah, I knew. Like, it was in the paperwork. Like, didn't you really read this? And she's like, no. And you never told me. And so then they also get started right away on the very first camp activity, which is coloring golf balls. Because, you know, the boss's wife is, you know, butter. Yeah. So they have to color a golf ball to represent the love that they share. Followed then by an intense game of mini golf where they're tied together, which I'm like, okay, that'd be kind of fun, I guess. But we find out that, like, literally he has a background in art. And so he's like, okay, we're going to use blue to represent how sad we are here. And then we morph into, like, this color and this. And she's like, it's a golf ball. Just color it. Like, what? But he's, like, really into it. But I think that also is nice because it gives a little, like, background into him. Or like, oh, he has a soul. He has a purpose. Okay. But then, you know, they're tied together for this game, but they use it as a good opportunity to openly fight in front of the group, which they're really, really going at it. Interesting to read because it causes them to be chastised by Sanders because they are just being too, like, rambunctious and, like, angry at each other. And he's like, guys, calm down. Like, these group sessions are supposed to be harmonious. Like, we're not supposed to, like, witness you trying to kill each other, which they pretty much do. Because at the end, they end up winning. You're like, yay, they win the golf challenge. But Scottie literally falls over and gets a black eye because Wilder's way too excited about the win and causes him to tip over. And she just goes face first into, like, a rock and just, like, ends up with a black eye. And you're like, great start.
Great start. Day one.
But if she's stoked about it. She's like,
well, she's like,
awesome.
yeah, my first black eye.
My first black eye. I'm like, oh, okay.
So you think it can't get more interesting. And then they get to their cabin. There was nothing that prepared me to read about this cabin. I did not see this coming because, and when I read about it, I also assumed that every single other cabin was like this.
Yeah.
Until we learn out later that's not the case. So they're in what I'm going to call the sex palace because it has handcuffs and chains on the bed. Oof. The walls are decorated with, like, not safe for work body art. The dresser, nipples, and, like, other things. The dresser is filled with, like, way too many sex toys, condoms, and lube that are very expensive. It's like, what, $15 a condom or something crazy?
Yes. And they're like, that's rude. Which I agree, that is rude.
And then if it's not enough, if they don't have enough toys to play with, Sanders drops off their prize for winning this mini golf tournament, and it's a basket filled of condoms, dildos, lubes, blindfolds, and a book on sex positions. And all I thought was, Scottie is already, like, uncomfortable in this situation to begin with. The more we learn about her previous marriage to Matt, like, all this stuff, everything sex related makes her very uncomfortable. So she feels out of her element. So it's a bit much. And I think it's even, like, a bit much for Wilder's, like, more into it, but I think he's also like, I mean, this is a bit much for, like, I don't know you, and if you're uncomfortable, they, like, take down all the artwork. They put the toys in a drawer after they make sure it's not, like, one of those hotel mini bars that have, like, the weights where if you, like, move it, you get charged for it. They, like, check to see, and then they, like, put it all in the door, like, in the drawer. And I think she, like, leaves, like, a dildo sticking up out of the drawer in case, like, someone thinks they stole all of it.
Yeah.
They, like, remove the handcuffs and the chain. I'm very curious about, like, what kind of chains were on the bed, which there's not enough description, but Meghan Quinn, we'd like more information. So they put all this away, and then, like, later they go to dinner, and when they come back, it's all returned to the room. Like, it's like turn down service. Like, everything is back up. All the sex toys are back out.
Or turned on service.
Or turned on. Well, I think that's the goal.
That's the goal, yeah. But also, it's funny. I'm like, they can't remove the suction cup dildo that is in the bathroom. And he's like, Scottie, don't drop the soap. Don't drop the soap. And she's
like, Doesn't he
Get that
sound
away
like
from
a
me.
middle school boy or like a high school boy? Like, I'm just like, what? You're a grown ass man.
Oh, it's so funny.
It's hard to
It's
take you
so
seriously,
funny.
Wilder.
Hmm.
But then we also get to see that he is actually really caring and thoughtful, even though he does act like a teenager sometimes. Because Scotty starts to realize like how different from her ex-husband, Matt, who treated her. And so it starts to make her feel like really uncomfortable because she's not used to someone being really thoughtful like Weller is. And he does, I think, a good job of trying to pull her out of her comfort zone by like, because they at dinner they have to answer all these questions, and he's trying to make her, he's trying to push her buttons. I think is the best way to describe it. So my favorite was like one of the questions was like, tell the story about like the your favorite time or whatever that you got oral sex from your partner. And so he decides, because this is all made up, to talk
Yeah.
about how she gave him oral sex on their fourth date at a pumpkin farm. And I'm just like, okay. And she's like, I would never do that on the fourth date. And he was like, I've done it on the first date. And then she's like, wait, what? And then I'm also like, at a pumpkin farm, there were probably children around.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what?
And I'm like, I'm like, where do you come up with these crazy ideas, Meghan Quinn? Because they're hilarious. So after we, have this awkward dinner where he's talking about getting oral sex at a pumpkin farm, they have to go obviously back to the room. Everything's back out and they have to share a bed. And at first, like he builds like the little moat of pillows, and
Yeah.
like that realizes like that's super uncomfortable. So they like she agrees that he can like remove all of them. And so they also hear like this like ding sound. And so Scotty's like, there's cameras here. That's how they knew that things were down. Like, so she's like freaking out that like somehow this place is like wiretapped. I'm like, Scotty, do you really think people are like, what? Like Sanders is watching you and Wilder right now and listening in?
Big Brother. Or
right?
Maybe it is.
Or maybe it, but it's not. We learned that it's basically a tablet that has their nightly viewing material, is how she refers to it, which is basically porn. And I think the thought is like, hey, you have this, you get turned on, and then obviously you'll use the $15 condoms and lube and all these other things because they've confiscated everyone's like nerd clusters, like the scandalous things
rude.
that Wilder and Scotty brought. And they also talk about like if you've brought anything like sexual in nature, that's been confiscated too. So you have to pay us for the $15 condoms.
Oh my gosh, so rude, so rude. Mm-hmm. And then we also learn a little bit more about Scotty's previous marriage to Matt. So apparently, he probably would have laughed at her when she got a black eye and like wouldn't try to like help her and stuff. He'd been like, haha, like sucks for you. And I'm like, that guy sounds like a dick. Clearly he was. And he apparently did not care at all about her sexual needs and like made her feel super insecure like throughout their entire marriage. It's really heartbreaking, honestly, to read about how terrible her ex-husband treated her. And like, unfortunately, that's probably realistic for a lot of women, and men probably, struggling with their relationships with their significant others. Like if you're not actively like trying to like date each other and like love each other and have sex, because like sex and intimacy is very important in a relationship. Like it just, if you're not doing that, it's gonna struggle and you're gonna have problems. So you feel bad for her.
It did. It reminded me a lot of Kiss and Don't Tell.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because she had a similar issue with her boyfriend, Josh, right? Like,
yeah,
the whole thing, the story comes out like that Winnie never had an orgasm the entire time she was with Josh, and like he just didn't care, and etc. And it made me think a lot about that.
Yeah. Which I'm like, that's so rude. That's so rude. I have a friend actually who her husband won't let her use toys because he's like, you don't need that. You have me. And I'm like, what? I'm like,
why are you threatened by a toy?
Right. It's like, are you intimidated really by a little thing with a battery in it? Like, grow up. She's not gonna watch this, so it's fine. So now let's get to the first therapy session at camp. It goes well, as it can be, given Wilder's involved and loves to improv. But you're like, okay. So turns out they're in the sex palace on purpose because Wilder said on their paperwork that sex life was thriving and adventurous, which causes Scottie to then worry about what her coworkers must think of her. Like they all know that she is in the sex cabin. And also apparently like they're really jealous of Scottie for being in the sex cabin. So, I mean, obviously I'm like, we could have told you that before, but they say it later in the book. So it's fine. So Wilder plays it off that he wants their sex life to be like this again because Scottie used to be addicted to his penis. And she's just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Was also the facial expression I made when I read it. I was like, oh my God. No,
Oh my God, oh my
no
God.
person. I could be wrong. I just don't imagine that a grown woman or a grown man would ever say out loud, I'm addicted to your penis.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Like, I don't think those words would come out. Like, I think another man could hear it. Like, that's what he could
Wants to hear.
wants to hear.
Yeah.
And I think you could love having sex, and that may be what he then therefore thinks.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't know, buddy. I don't know about that. But sure, whatever you think.
Sure.
So then they also fake fight about how Scottie refuses to get a nipple piercing. And it's just the funniest thing here. Because then we learn that Wilder does have a cock piercing in addition to his lip piercing. And he's literally just like, I got my dick pierced for you. Like the least you can do is get a nipple piercing. It's just a nipple. I think you'd like it. And it's like lots of banter back and forth like that. And you're just like, dick piercing, nipple piercing, dick piercing, nipple piercing. And then, like, they fight about the most oddest things, like Velcro. He's like, rip. And he's like, you know that drives me crazy. Don't do that to me. And she's like, rip, Velcro. And he's like, stop. It's just, like, the most insane improv, like, you're seeing there. Like, they're fighting about Tupperware lids and, like, pads and baloney. And he's like, literally, he hates the word baloney. And she just goes, baloney. And he goes, oh, how dare you. And you're just like, oh my God. Pokemon names, mouthwash, like you name it. There's even like a crazy like movie moment where like they're just kind of like sitting back and they're like, oh yeah, yeah, this is good. This is good. Like little break we're having. Like, how was your day? And then it goes back to them fighting again. You're just like, the therapist is shocked. He's just like, I don't know what to do with this. What? And like the crazy rants just keep going. Some are super outlandish and feel very real, obviously, that like some married couples might have in the end. But then weirdly enough, Wilder, I guess it's not weird because Wilder is Wilder. He's super fired up now about all of this fake fighting because it was super fun. He's like, yeah, I love it. Even though Scottie is now worried they may have broken Sanders from all their craziness. And because he's just like sitting there like, I don't know if I can do this. These people are insane. And it takes a turn then when Wilder says, it's almost like you've done this before, which brings up a lot of feelings of her actual real marriage to Matt and causes her to then go for a walk alone. Because she's just like, I have had these issues before. Like, this is real for me. Like, if I was able to actually bring my ex to therapy, like, these are some things we would have thought about. Maybe not the baloney and the nipple
Like
piercing.
like the Tupperware lids, like that felt like a really common.
Yeah.
God,
or
why?
just, being like, you don't listen to me or like, you
Yes.
don't do this. And, you fight with me or you're not there for me. And you're like, oh, those are real marriage problems. And he's just
'Cause I
like,
think she asked him to go get like pads with wings, and he brought back like buffalo wings. Like,
which is kind of funny.
it is kind of funny. But I'm also like, are you dense? Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Come on.
But this is also where you start to see like Wilder is more than meets the eye, because he realizes like there has to be something going on with Scottie. So he goes and uses the payphone, because you can use a payphone to make a 10-minute call. Like it's the 90s, and calls Micah and was like, hey, this happened. And he was like, well, Scottie's divorced, right? No, he had no idea. Micah, you didn't tell him this. Scottie didn't tell him this. There's been no real information shared between the two of them.
Only their love of nerds clusters.
Correct. And then Micah also shares that, like, while Scottie may act tough, being at this camp and being around other married couples, acting like her marriage is falling apart is probably really hard on her, because that's really what she went through, and she's not really over it. As much as I think she wants to believe, I think she's over Matt. I don't think she's over the situation and all that, all the trauma that happened to her. So then Wilder's like on a mission. He's gonna find her. He's gonna try and be there for her. And he apologizes and like reiterates like how she doesn't need to act like everything is okay. Like you're allowed to have feelings. Like I'm only at this camp for you. And it's like a really sweet moment. It's like I think one of the first times you see like shit, he's a really good guy underneath.
Yeah.
If we can just
Like
get like the weird teenage improv
yeah, like he's
stop.
playful on top, but like he actually has like some
Like
deeper meaning to him
yeah, and a good heart.
and a good heart.
So but they did in fact break Sanders because before they can go to dinner, Sanders like stops them and he's like, I'm gonna have like dinner delivered to your room. And I was like, you've just been put in timeout. You can't hang out with the other couples. And like that's what I this whole interaction, because he's like, I want you to think about like what you've done and whether or not you want to stay at camp or go home. And I'm like, you were just put in timeout. You need to think about what you did and what you've been doing. And then surprisingly, Scotty like wants to stay, which is not like what I would have expected from her character at that point, because she's starting to realize like, okay, just being here in this short time is kind of forcing me to deal with some of the negative feelings I've had. So like I think I want to stay. And Wilder's like, yeah, I'm good. I mean, Wilder was good for staying on like day one, right? He's like, there's
without her. He had been like,
correct.
all right, I'm just gonna hang out and have fun.
He's like, there's a fleshy penis in the shower. Like I'm all for this. So I because he's well, he's in there like hitting it around with his hand and his penis, like just like playing swords or whatever.
Right, yeah,
like,
he's crossing swords, having fun.
Exactly. And I think that was like the turning point in their like friendship where I realized like, where they became friends, and also like it's gonna become more.
For sure. Because then the next day we get back to camp stuff and it's obstacle course time. And it's entertaining as hell watching Wilder and Scottie banter with each other all the time as they watch the other couples compete in the same course. So what's super fun about this obstacle course is that after each obstacle, the couple has to answer a question to then move on to the next one. And for two people who aren't married, they're like killing it. They're doing a great job. And they end up winning again, which seriously pisses off the Brads and the Chads. But at least this time, they win back their confiscated nerds clusters and they don't end up with more sex toys, which is great. So then in their next therapy session, Sanders wants them to work on communication, which can apparently only be done with Scottie straddling Wilder's lap, which they both end up enjoying. And honestly, I was like, I kind of want to try this. I kind of want to be like, hey, babe, like, let's just like talk to each other while I just like sit on top of you and just see what happens.
You can't be that mad at, I mean, right?
You can't be mad. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the whole point. So, you know, maybe there's some method to the madness that Sanders has going on here. So we basically get to see them start to enjoy in this, activity, and they start to share more about themselves and the real needs that they have in their relationship. And we learn a little bit more about Wilder's actual baggage and how he wants to feel needed, while Scottie wants to feel special. And you're like, oh, look at you guys making breakthroughs in your real life stuff, not in a fake scenario where it's like, you actually deep down have these needs. And like, you're learning this about each other while straddling. That's not bad.
And learning it about yourself. Like, I think too, I don't think either one of them really understood that until they kind of talk through it.
Yeah. So the next step is making friendship bracelets, which is just like your typical like camp stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's really cute. And Wilder adorably makes one that says Wilder's girl for Scottie. And you're like, oh my gosh, like that is so stinking cute. I love that. And Scottie was making one originally for herself with her name on it because she didn't follow directions. She's like, I thought this was for me. But she at least does like change it and make it a little bit bigger for him and is able to put it on his wrist, So I'm like, well, that's really cute. And you're like, oh, friendship bracelets. Yay.
Well, this combined with the Brads and the Chads made me think of Taylor Swift because, right? Friendship bracelets, and then how like when she started going to Travis Kelce's football games, like all the Brads and Chads were mad about it. And I was like, she had to be writing this like when all that was happening because there's just
it was too perfect.
It was too perfect. Okay. Then everyone at camp decides to play a game of Never Have I Ever. And I'm like, okay, I've let's be honest. When does that game not get awkward at some point? No matter who
Yeah.
you're playing with it. It is literally designed to make people feel uncomfortable. And Scottie has to play it with her coworkers.
Again, HR bells are going off like, oh my God, no, 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 no.
No, 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 no. I don't want to know. The only person that's not uncomfortable, Wilder,
Of course, naturally.
who like starts it off. He's like, yeah, sounds great. Never have I ever had sex on a roof of a car at a scenic overlook in Connecticut. And then he like looks at Scottie. You better raise your hand.
You gotta raise your hand. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. And she's like, what the fuck?
And I have questions. I'm like, when you dent the car roof, like how would that work?
Yeah, this. Would it be cold? Do you have a blanket?
Would it be cold? Is it what kind of car is it? Is it big enough for you to be on top of? Like,
yeah. Is it tall?
How did you get up there?
Yeah, right? Is it a truck?
What? I have questions.
Lots of questions.
And then this is also the point where we learned everyone is jealous because Scottie and Wilder got the coveted cabin. Apparently the sex palace is the cabin everyone wants. And I'm just like, what?
How sanitized does that get? I hope it gets like drenched in bleach and
also,
UV lights.
I'm very curious. Like, it's a room with like handcuffs. You could have that at home. It has toys. You could have that at home.
Why don't you invest in your own sex stuff?
I guess maybe you wouldn't have like naked pictures in your bedroom if you had children.
Yeah, maybe.
Or like
not.
ever want people around. But like otherwise, I'm like, you could have all of these things at home.
Yeah.
Just
go on Amazon. Go on Amazon.
Right?
Or if you don't know, like just go to like your local like romantic shop. Like there's Romantics, there's like Lovery or like whatever that one is called. Lovers. Or like I don't know.
There's lots of places.
Touch of Romance.
You could go there.
Yeah.
They have all the
They're
things.
Fun. Go together. It's fun to go together and be like, hey, do you want to try this? Yeah, you want to try that? Ooh, what's this?
Right?
Go.
You don't need to have this coveted sex palace that like God only knows how many other people have used.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
including some of the people that you work with.
Yeah, I don't want to use the same suction cup bathroom thing that you can imagine someone else used. You're like,
that's what I thought. I was like, at least everything else that you would buy was new. That is not new. Unless they're putting a new one down for every person, you just get charged for it. I don't know.
Oh, do you get to take it home?
Was it like a souvenir?
Instead of a souvenir cup, you get a souvenir dildo. Yay!
Right? And it says like Camp Haven on it. It's branded.
But yeah, it's branded and it like sticks out, so it adds a little extra like girth to it.
Right?
Not a bad idea.
Never know. But things take a turn because then Chad, who is our favorite friend, accuses them of faking their issues to get more attention. So he doesn't believe they're faking their marriage, just faking their issues because you want the sex palace and the tent. I'm like, first of all, they have never been here. How would they have known to fake something to get the sex palace if they didn't know it existed? 2, who wants a tent?
I
don't camp. My husband jokes that staying at a Holiday Inn is camping for me, and that's probably accurate. So I'm just like, no one wants a tent. Why is a tent sexy? And when we learn about the tent later, I still don't understand why.
I still don't think it's sexy. No.
They would want that.
I don't want to sleep on the ground.
No, I don't either.
I don't even want to sleep on an air mattress. I'm like, no.
No. I'm too old for that.
My back will hurt. I can't do it.
Like, but even in my 20s, I couldn't do it. I'm allergic to like everything outside. I'm allergic to like 26 environmental things. Like I literally would die. So
I'd be too scared that somebody would come in and kill me. Which is,
I would be scared that like just the outdoor trees and leaves and smells would kill me. Go to anaphylactic shock from breathing fresh air. Wilder in this situation though is like does not tolerate shit. So he is basically like starts standing up for them. And like
you're like, go Wilder. Go Wilder.
I'm like, yes. And Scottie's shocked because she's like one of those people who have never really had anyone stand up for them. So I think she like doesn't know how to react to it either. And then, he goes back to the cabin, gets their sex toys prize basket they went to the group and starts like tossing out dildos to people. like here. Like party favors, like you're so jealous you can have this.
He's
And
like,
we know
Oprah, you get a dildo, you get a cock ring, you get fuzzy handcuffs. Here's some lube for you. Woo! He's a
right,
sex
and you
fairy.
all have a little bit of this. Oh, I like that. Change of prayer, sex fairy. And we know that some people use some of those items later.
They
But
definitely did.
But then Scottie ends up fighting with Wilder later because she's like, you embarrassed me. And he was like, what do you mean? Like, you were tolerating their behavior. Like, that's not okay. And I think it's an interesting, and this is one of the things I love about a lot of Meghan Quinn books, is like you have this hilarious moment where Wilder is throwing out like sex paraphernalia to people. And then like the next scene, they're having this like real in-depth conversation that I think really any couple could have, right? Especially when one person hasn't felt like they feel good enough for someone to stand up for them, or they're not used to it or whatever. And so Wilder is like, it becomes like a real fight. This isn't a fake fight. It's like their first actual fight, and it carries over to like the next morning's therapy session. So they're still mad at each other. And Sanders is kind of like, poor man. And we learned that like later at the end of the book, he's not even a licensed therapist. So this has to be like some crazy shit. And he is just like, I don't know what to do with the two of you. So he like puts them out on a rowboat in the middle of the lake without any paddles, right? With the whole intent of like work together to get back to shore. And Wilder's like, fuck that, and jumps off the boat and swims to shore. And I'm like, I wouldn't have expected him to leave Scottie like just floating. I mean, someone does come get her on the jet ski and stuff like that. But like the whole consequence that Sanders was trying to give them was, if you can't communicate and you're being like little babies about this, I'm going to put you in a situation that forces you to work together. And then Wilder's like, nope.
Yeah, calls the bluff and is like, no, I can just get up and go swim, and that's what I'm going to do. Bye. And you're like, that's a bummer. So This leads to another consequence, the tent. Dun, dun, dun. Again, no idea why any camper would want this shitty tent experience. Again, I mean, that's just us. Like, we are just like, we're not tent people. I don't get it.
No.
But basically, they have to build a tent that is pretty much broken and from like 1992. And so it's like really old. And they have to share a sleeping bag. And you're like, uh-oh, careful that zipper, buddy. Careful.
Right?
Like, oh.
If you don't be nice to Scottie, you're going to see some real penis getting zipped up.
Right? Yeah, like, I don't think you want to do that. But needless to say, attempting to build this shitty tent together does not work out well for them and literally only leads to more fighting. But they do eventually talk about their fight and how it made them feel. And you're like, oh, progress. Okay. Hey, there's a method to the madness. I don't think Sanders was even expecting that, to be honest. And honestly, then you find like Wilder's ability to apologize to Scottie like shocks her, because she's never experienced anything like that before. Like, she's so used to Matt just being an asshole and like never taking ownership over anything. But then Wilder also shares how the situation made him think about how, Micah was picked on. And so he's trying to be like protective of someone he cares about. And he's like, I just don't tolerate that kind of like behavior from anyone. So we really love how she's like teaching her to like know her own worth and to like not settle for anything less. And also to know that like someone is going to be in your corner and like stick up for you, which she's not used to having. And you're like, Wilder, good guy, love you.
I know.
Yeah. But then during our new trope of, we're going to name it one sleeping bag, we get to see them tease each other a little bit. Mm-hmm. And Scottie kind of starts to loosen up. She starts sharing a little bit more about her ex-husband wasn't into compliments, but she needs those. She's like, that's like my love language. Like, I need to have the like affection of, words. And it leads to Wilder then like giving her a bunch of compliments that I think he's honestly been holding back this entire time. And he's like, these are truthful ones. But then he starts fishing for a compliment back. He's like, come on, like, give it back to me. Let's go. And at this point, it's clear they're both really attracted to each other. We're screaming in this book, like, start making out. Find out if he really has a penis ring. Like, let's go. Come on. Let's go, 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 go. But all we get is Wilder just like stroking her skin under her shirt. And you're just like, come on, a little bit higher. Look to the left, and just like done. That's it. this doesn't even make it to the hot and steamy list because you're just like, what a tease. What a tease. I'm like,
Literally.
if you fuck in the middle of the woods, like, is anyone going to hear you? No? Just go
No.
for it. It's fine. But the next morning, things do get a little bit hot and steamy when Wilder wakes up and realizes Scottie is having a sex dream about him. And you're like, oh, yeah. Oh, that's good stuff. And he literally puts her hand on the waistband of his shorts. And, he does the gentlemanly thing and, like, gets out of there. Because he's like, oh, she doesn't mean to be doing this to me. Like, she's trying to get to me, but I don't think she really would be. And so he's like, all right, I'm going to do the gentleman thing and kind of like leave as quickly as possible, shouting, oh, I got to go to the bathroom. Bye. And you're like, damn it. So close.
Damn it. So close.
So close.
Nothing.
Ugh. Rats.
And then we also learned that Wilder doesn't want to be in a relationship right now because he wants to make sure that Micah's in a good place with his mental health. Because there are times like in the past where Micah really struggled with his mental health and Wilder like ended up staying with him for a while and has just taken on a lot of that responsibility and worry onto himself, which has caused him in a lot of ways to put really his personal life on hold, even though he doesn't see that yet. And then he also has some baggage from like his mom cheating on his dad after his dad had a really horrible accident. And then we get another camp activity that would also cause HR violations. It's like musical chairs, except it's called sensual chairs. And both of them have to sit on the chair facing each other while doing whatever the card attached to the chair says. I'm like,
this reminds me of Jenga, the Jenga game. Where it's like
the sex Jenga
do your
game.
Favorite sex position. You're like, okay.
Except in this situation, it was definitely meant for a couple. It was not being played by 5 hockey players.
No.
That's how that Jenga game started, right?
Yeah.
So the first task they have isn't too hard. They have to share like one thing they admire about like their partner. Easy peasy. Next one, compliment on the partner's body. Easy peasy. It gets a little steamier, right? And then the next task is to touch your partner wherever like you want. And so Scottie goes for the lip ring because throughout the book like Wilder plays with it. And then she touches like his tattoos and his abs. And Wilder is like trying to be a gentleman because he's like, I don't want to be like inappropriate. He doesn't say this, but like in his mind is like he doesn't want to be inappropriate in public.
Yeah.
And Scottie's like, touch my boobs. Like just put your hand. She like puts his hand on her boob.
She's like, just touch me. And he's
touch me. And I'm like, yes, you're coming out of your shell. And then like he like kind of it's probably like a middle schooler or high schoolers never touched boobs before because he's like it just kind of like nothing happens. And then and Scottie's kind of because like there's been all this chemistry building up to this point, and then Scottie kind of triggers her, which I think is interesting because there's a lot of things I think that are really small like that you don't realize will be a trigger until it happens. And it reminds her of how Matt used to treat her because Matt didn't really want to be very sexual with her. He didn't really care about her. He never complimented her body or things like that. And so she starts to shut down and Wilder's like, what's wrong? And then he kind of clarifies like in the next chair, like I didn't touch you because like I wouldn't be able to stop given how attracted I am to you. And then they finally start making out. I'm like, for the love, thank God. So
yes, break that tension, please.
They have this like really hot makeout session. Turns into that eventually. Like everyone at the camp is noticing. And afterwards, Guy's like, I gotta go.
The Brez and Chads are like, which also, can you, making out with your significant other in front of your coworkers, I'm like, HR.
While you're straddling them. I know.
While you're straddling them.
So many HR violations in this whole book.
So bad.
And then I love it because Guy's like, I gotta go. And she like runs off to go call like her other best friend, Denise, to like freak out about like what's just happened with Wilder. And Denise is like, I mean, you like him. He seems attracted to you. Like, why don't you just go have some fun with him? Like, this sounds like a great idea. But like, then Wilder is like in his own head because he is thinking like, well, that kiss didn't mean as much to her as it meant to me. Like, it's fine. So then they have to do this Q&A game where they have to take a drink after answering like each question, which I'm like, is that just like a drinking game then? Because
Yeah, it's just a
normally,
drinking.
I was like, normally, like if you, it's like you take a shot after, like like in beer pong, like you miss, you have to take a shot, or like you make it and someone else takes a shot or whatever. And Sanders is like, yeah, the entire point is to get you guys drunk. And I'm like, well, then why didn't you just say that? Why do I have to answer questions?
Yeah, just let
So
me like toss a few back and then we're good.
exactly. And all the questions are like sexual in nature. So it like just continues to heighten what's already happened with like sensual chairs.
Yes.
And then Wilder finally starts making it like adamantly clear how he feels about her sexually, which like starts to turn Scottie on, but also make her uncomfortable because like she's not used to it. And I think that's like, I don't know if people realize like how hard it is when you go from not getting any of that like vocally to a situation where you do. You could be totally fine with like receiving that information, but because you're so unused to it, it's kind of like, I don't know how to respond. I like you kind of feel like it all it's new to you. So, and that's kind of where she's at. And so she pushes him on like, why are you acting this way? Why are you being so sexual? And he was like, you had no reaction to our kiss. And he just like leaves. And she's like, she did have a reaction. She just hasn't told you.
So communication is key, people.
Right?
So Wilder gets up and leaves, and he has to go call Micah to vent about this situation. And he finds out that Scottie actually had called Denise about making out with him. And we're just like, guys, communicate, come on. And then Micah spills about how much Scottie really liked it. And then Micah tells him to show his best friend a good fucking time.
Literally.
And Mike, like, just go do it. He's like, dude, come on, like, Scottie, like, this is a once-in-a-lifetime girl. She deserves the world and something he believes Wilder can give her. And apparently Micah had been planning on introducing them, but he wanted to wait until Scottie was ready. So this fake husband situation just honestly made everything happen sooner. He's like, you guys have always, in the back of my mind, like, you actually would have been a great couple, but, you know, gotta wait for the right time. So right time is fake husband time, clearly. So Wilder decides to just follow Micah's advice and takes Scottie back to the cabin where he tells her to strip for him. But she's like uncomfortable doing this. She's like, what do you mean? And he's like, just strip. Just, okay, fine. How about he tells her then, strip him down. He's like, oh, strip me. It's fine. And that's where we find the cock piercing. We've all been curious about this. We're just like, is it there? What does it look like? What kind of piercing
is it? Real?
And is it real? Like, but then we had to Google it because we're like, okay, what is this? It's called a magic cross piercing. So basically, you know, you got your penis. That's, I don't know, you know, from Bridesmaids. And, you know, you got one bar across on the inside and then another bar on the other side. So you have like 4 little like balls across the beams. And I guess that's very pleasurable. And I tried convincing my husband. I'm like, would you ever consider that? And he paused. He paused for a second. He's like, are you asking me to do this? And I'm like, not necessarily, but if I were to ask you, would you consider it?
If you were open to it.
And he was literally like, maybe.
Did he make you show him what it looked like first?
No, I think if I did, then he'd be like, oh, hell no. He'd be like, nope, not doing it. But I was like, come on. And I'm like,
so that's where I made my mistake because I showed my husband. And he was like, absolutely not. He's like, I don't know why you're showing me this, but absolutely not. So,
oh my God. I was like, honey, if you do that, I'll get a nipple ring. I'll do it. If like you do it, I'll do it. And I think that's where I got him. He was like,
wait a second.
Maybe.
But I think it's important that you have to show the photo because then my husband, who was bless his heart, has like all these questions. I was like, the book does not go into like how it's done or the like.
Can you numb it? Do you have to be? We had this discussion. I was like, "Do you think you have to be hard to get it pierced?" Right? He's like, "I don't think you could be." He's like, I don't think I could be hard while I was getting that pierced." He's like, "There's no way. I'd be so scared." He's like, "It would shrink back into itself, you know, and just be like
then
scared."
How did they do it?
Right? I don't know. So many questions. If anybody has a cock piercing, please let us know how they do it.
Specifically, this one.
Specifically a magic cross, please. I would like to know.
All
Um,
I was curious about is like how, like on Google search history, do you know like how things happen in the world and then you see like a spike in the number of like searches? I'm very curious, like in the last 30 days, has there been an increase in the number of searches for magic cross cock
oh my
piercings thanks to
gosh.
Meghan Quinn? Like,
Right?
is there, because I've read in some other groups on like social, specifically like in her Facebook group, how like a bunch of women have done like what you and I did, like just floated. Like I'm not saying I'm asking, I'm just saying like I read
Just
about this.
curious.
Like, do you have any thoughts? I think the resounding thing is like once you kind of describe it or talk about it to your partner, the answer is absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But you know,
But
the communication is key. You never know. So you got to shoot your shot and see what happens. So after she, sees this piercing and she's like, oh my God, she decides to strip for him, even though she's nervous about it. But we love, honestly, how comfortable he was trying to make her in the situation. He's like, you're beautiful. Like, it's great. Like, you're fine. He's really trying to rebuild some of that confidence that, like, her ex had broken for her. And then we finally get some great spice when Wilder goes down on Scottie. And then she returns the favor. And they have really good sex. And it's incredibly fucking hot. But I'm not going to lie. When she returns the favor and goes down on him, I was a little bit worried for her with that piercing. It reminded me, seriously, of the movie The Sweetest Thing. When Selma Blair is giving the guy a blowjob and he has a cock
yeah,
piercing and it gets stuck in her throat.
I
Do you
didn't even
remember
think
that
about
scene?
that.
Yeah, it got like stuck on like her something back there, and she had to like
Yeah.
sing, and everybody in there is like singing the song to try and relax her vocal cords to get the cock ring out of her mouth. And you're just like, oh my
Sex
God.
sends me to the ER once again.
So good. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen to Scottie, thank goodness. I think she'd be traumatized. I think she would never do anything sexual again if that happened. But but they have good hot sex. And you're like,
I
yay,
do.
happy for you.
So next morning, we get another hot sex scene followed by a therapy session where Wilder has like no problem telling Sanders that they had phenomenal sex last night and again this morning. Like he is super proud. And
He
so
has
their
no
next,
filter.
he has no filter.
Yeah.
And Scotty is like probably the queen of filters prior to this point. So Sanders is like, your assignment is to go on a date together, but you can't spend it like all day in your cabin just having sex, which would have been like their choice, our choice, just saying. So they decide to pick a tandem bike. I don't know who invented them, why anyone would think that that's a fun idea, because it's the worst idea. If you've not been on one, they're horrible to ride. They're not meant to be ridden by two people. They're just not. So, and it's not like a great experience, but they do end up having a good time. And like they get ice cream. Wilder shares about his dad. Um, Scotty is doing sexual things with the ice cream. It's great. But you start to see more of like his baggage that he has. And then we get to this conversation about what happens when they get back to the city. Because Wilder is like at this point just assumes they'll still see each other. And then Scotty's like, well, she's like worried about getting hurt again. And then Wilder is like, I have no intention of hurting you ever, which is like a really sweet thing. And I think that's what like everyone would say. Like, I don't think anyone, well, I assume there are real assholes out there that want to hurt people on purpose. But I think in general, most people don't go into relationships with the intention of hurting someone else. It's like
Yeah.
most people don't go into marriages with the intention of like eventually getting divorced.
Yeah.
So then he proceeds to, because like one of her things that she talked about, like she's never had sex outside, finger fuck her outside at a lake. And then she returns the favor and gives him a blowjob. And so like I'm like, you're already checking off this list of things that like she's never done before. It's like super sweet. And then that's what gives him the idea. We should make a bucket list of all the things that you wanted to do that Matt would never do with her. And I'm like, yes, I love this.
Right.
It's a great idea.
So the
And it's
next
not all
camp,
sexual related.
yeah, not all of it is. Some of it's like very just like sweet, and you're like, oh. So then the next camp activity is making a custom cocktail. And once again, Scottie and Wilder dominate. Because, Wilder has this like very artistic background. He's like, we're going to do this because it has this meaning for our relationship and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, ooh, I kind of want to have this now. Like, I
It
don't remember
sounded
what it was
good.
called. Yeah, but I
The
was like,
prickly pear,
oh, the prickly pear. Yeah, but Pair instead of pear.
which
And you're
is
like,
cute.
so cute.
Isn't there a
So
prickly pear in like the prickly pear cactus in Arizona?
maybe, yeah.
Like
I don't
a
know.
specifically a I've had it before like a decade ago.
Oh.
Anyways,
Well, anyway, we should make this drink sometime. Oh, and then we can play the drinking game of Never Have I Ever.
ever.
Okay, so they dominate and they win a prize of an evening by the lake with wine and chocolates, along with an orange dildo. Yay! Oh, and a matching cock ring, because why not? So let's just say this is all new to Scottie, of course, and Wilder is very excited to introduce her to it. And he proceeds to tell her how he's going to use their new toys tonight. And oh my God, that man is so good with his words. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But then next we get to see them skinny dip and have sex in the lake. And you're just like, oh girl, go for it. So happy for you. So proud of you in that moment. Letting go, getting in the water, checking more things off your box.
Right?
But then honestly, I was a little concerned because I'm like, ooh, sex in a lake? Like normally when you go swimming in a lake, you're supposed to shower off afterwards because of like like just the bite like
I
stuff
know.
in there. And you're like, I don't know if having like sex in there is like the most hygienic thing to do, but also very exciting to read about. So good for you, I guess.
Good for you, not for me.
Not for me. Please shower accordingly so you don't get a weird infection somewhere. So yeah. So the next morning, Wilder asks Scottie if he can take her out on a date when they get back to the city. And you're like, aw, so cute. He's putting himself out there. But Scottie is really worried because he stated very clearly he did not want to be in a relationship. And she's concerned that he's really not ready and is just going to hurt her. And he tells her that he's like, get ready to be wooed. He's like, no, I'm going to. And she's like, okay, but no. But then oddly enough, we get a nice little scene with Chad, who up until now has been a douche this entire time. And it turns out that he and his wife are having a hard time getting pregnant, which is impacting their marriage. And he's like, Scottie, can you give me some advice given like you and Wilder have had this like magnificent turnaround? And that's when Scottie is like, oh my gosh, like there's real people here with real problems and like we have this whole facade going and it's not fair. So she admits to Chad that their marriage isn't real and everything's been fake up until this point. And she's like, don't look to me for advice. Like, I'm so sorry for you and your wife, but like we are not the shining example here. So then she decides to tell the truth to Sanders and her boss, Ellison, without giving Wilder a heads up about any of this. She's like, I'm coming clean. And he's like, what? And Sanders is shocked because he's like, I could tell you guys actually have feelings for each other and you have good chemistry and like this could be a real thing. Which they do both admit to having that, but Scottie says she's scared and doesn't want to get hurt. And Wilder says, he's like, well, I don't want to hurt you. Ooh, wrong thing to say, buddy. You don't say it that way.
No.
So we get the inevitable like third act breakup here that we all knew was kind of coming. And we're just like, oh man, Scottie, Wilder, I was really hoping for you guys to like stick it through, but like we know there has to be a realization here. And then maybe
100%.
truthfully you can come back together.
So then we see Sanders actually be like a decent therapist for once.
Yeah.
And he calls Walter out on his problem after like Sky leaves the room. He's like, either you need to be all in or all out. Like stop riding the bench.
Yeah.
And that's when like Wilder realizes that some of his holdup is related to Micah and worrying so much about him. So they both like Sky goes and packs her bags, Denise comes and gets her. Wilder decides to leave camp early too. He goes to see Micah. They have this conversation about everything, and Micah's like, I'm fine, dude. Like, I will ask for help if I need it. Like, why is your life on hold for me? And so the next day, Wilder shows up at Sky's apartment just like he said he would. Because before, like, he made a comment about, like, I'll just show up at your apartment, like, once we get back in town. And he's like, do you want to go to the movies? Because that's on our bucket list. And it's just one of the many ways we see him continue to show up for her and prove, like, that she's worth it. And then they go to the movies, they get all the snacks, and when he takes her home, like she's like, "Do you want to come in?" He's like, "No, I have a process." And I'm just like, "Wait,
What? He's holding out on her? And
I
you're
know." I
like,
was like, "Meghan Quinn, do not do us dirty." What?
right? I'm like, no, no, no. He should go inside and they should fuck and it should be good.
It should
But
be good. I'd like to read about it.
I want to read about this, please. You're like, "Ugh, fine, okay, whatever." And it continues on with this, with like cute little thoughts that he has of her and like text messages. He gives her compliments, taking her on sweet dates. Like he's trying to woo her and romanticize everything. And it's like, that's great. He's doing everything that she needs to realize that she does deserve to be treated like the queen she is. And he's actually been meeting with Sanders like each week and like legit paying for it because he's like, wait, you're a good therapist. Like, even though you're not really a therapist, like, this is great. And he's like talking about his relationship with his brother, with his mom, with Scottie. And like they're hitting it off. And like Sanders, is like, has like a basketball and he's like, moving around. They're like, yeah, man, okay, cool. And you're like, well, hey, whatever works, works. And then finally it's time for them to get hot and steamy again. And we see Wilder check off another box on her list that involves watching porn. Well, he does the exact same thing to her. Yeah, that's so much fun. Everybody should do this. It's really fun. Yay. And basically he checks off again one more final list for her. It's a paddle boat ride in Central Park. And you're like, this is so cute.
I know.
Yay. And then he tells her that he loves her and vice versa. And you're just like, oh, you guys. He like literally was like, I want to date you and I want to like show you you're worthy and love. And he just all these things. And you're like, I love you. So then we get the epilogue and they're back at Camp Haven and now they're engaged. And you're like, and they're staying in the sex palace once again. And you're like, this is amazing. This is so great.
Probably taking more advantage of it this time.
But now we're purposely dropping the soap and seeing what
Yes.
happens and not taking down pictures of nipples. You're like, ooh. So yay. Happy
So
ending.
good. Okay. Hot and steamy. There was a lot of spice in this book. It felt like a 4.5. Pepper. What do we think?
I'd say it's a solid 4.
Solid 4? Okay.
Solid 4. It was pretty
Okay.
good. I liked it.
And we have like, I think, 6 chapters? So starting with chapter 21, it's kind of where this all gets going and gets started, which is when he goes down on Scottie and then she returns the favor and they have sex finally.
Finally.
Like, this man just says so many amazing things that if you struggle with how to talk dirty to your partner, you should read this book. Because I think he does a very nice job. So this is from Wilder's perspective. And he starts it and says, let's get one thing fucking straight. I say as I move over her, I'm not Matt and I love eating pussy. So spread your goddamn legs. And I'm just like, right? Because like, just praise hands. There are not enough words.
So
because like that is something that like Matt really didn't do to her, and that was something that she felt really uncomfortable about. And so he is like very clear verbally, and then he like she's still hesitant when she spreads her legs, and he helps her spread them even more and then bends her knees up all the way to her chest, exposing her just the way he wants. And it's right, like he's just even like what he's doing physically is very clear. And then, like, she says, oh, God. And then he's like, louder. I want you louder, Scottie. Don't make me repeat myself. And I'm just like, oh. Mm-hmm. And then, like, as he starts going down her, he, like, says, motherfucker, you taste amazing. Like, it's just, which is what she needs to hear in that moment, right? And then, like, when they actually end up having sex in that same chapter, like she's like, oh my God, I can't, the sensation, it's too much. And he's like, no, babe, it's perfect. Now ride me, use me, fuck me, make yourself come. It's just like, he's just there for her, like verbally, and like tells her what to do. And it's really, really empowering, I think, for her to be able to like be in that situation and to feel comfortable. He does such a great job of like, I think, making her feel comfortable in something that is, while she's had sex before, obviously, the only person she's had sex with was Matt. It feels kind of, I think, like the first time in a lot of ways for her because it's a very different experience.
Yes.
It's really
He,
everything Meghan Quinn writes that is sexual in nature is really hot.
so good. And then he's like, squeeze those tits, Pips. Make me jealous you're touching them. And then he says, I'm dripping with need, feeling far too possessive. And before I can tell myself no, I flip her to her back, spread her legs, and start driving into her, bottoming out with every pulse. She goes, fuck, oh, fuck Wilder. And he says, take these piercings, Pip. Fucking take them. I slide my hand up to the base of her neck and gently claim her. Just enough for her to know who's fucking her, who's owning her. And you're like, oh, shit.
I need a fan. Like,
oh my God. I was like, Wilder. Oh my.
I know.
Just that line. Honestly, at first I was kind of like, it's a little cheesy of like, take these piercings. But then I was like, wait, actually, that's kind of hot now.
It's super hot.
I think it's after I read that, I went to my husband and I was like, so what are your thoughts?
So I Googled this.
Right? It's like, there's this book I'm reading and the guy has piercings. Thoughts? And, just saying.
Pro cons.
Pro con. So that was really fucking hot. And then next we have chapter 22, Wilder and Scottie having sex again. But it's very, very hot, of course. Naturally, it has to be. So he says, fuck, you're ready, he whispers. And then to my surprise, he lifts up and turns me around so I'm on my stomach. He tugs on my hips, bringing me to the edge of the bed, and then says, stick your ass up for me, Pips. I tilt my ass up in the air, he parts my legs, and then he slips his cock into me with one solid thrust, his piercings running along my inner walls until he bottoms out, making me cry in pleasure because nothing has ever felt this good. Nothing. Take my cock. Take all of it, he says, as his hand wraps around my wet hair and tugs my head back just slightly as he pumps into me. My back arches, my nipples rub against the comforter, and with every thrust he makes, he bottoms out, filling me up to the point that I lose my breath. Oh.
Right?
Yes. Yes, please. Good God.
Okay. Then we get to chapter 23, and we're at the first lake because there are two lakes where we get sex scenes. This is the first lake where, from the tandem bike ride and the sexual ice cream encounter, which I think had to have turned him on.
Oh, yeah.
So they're at the lake, and he ends up finger fucking her, and then she goes down on him. And my kind of like favorite part is I had to read this like actually a couple of times to figure out exactly what he was doing and where was what.
Right,
but he goes, I bite one more time and follow it with a lick of my tongue. She cries out my name and encourages me to move faster with my thumb. So I circle her clit over and over and over again until her legs start to clamp around me. Her hand tightens over mine and her mouth falls open. Fuck, she yells just before she tilts over the edge and starts calling out my name while her orgasm takes her over. Oh God, Wilder. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. And I'm just like, I just imagine her like on this picnic table doing this. And I'm just like, I hope there are not other people around or small children. Because they've just like kind of like pulled off, right? Like they were biking down the road. They're like, oh, here's the lake. Here's like a table. And
yay.
And she's screaming.
She's screaming. Somebody be like, are you okay? And it's like, oh, no, you're fine. You're good. She's fine. Everybody go this way instead. Okay, so then we have chapter 25. Wilder and Scottie go skinny dipping in the lake and have super hot sex. And here she says, your piercings, she says, they feel so good. I'm sorry, fuck, I'm close, I'm sorry. And the way she tightens around me makes me go feral. This feeling is what I crave, need, when she's about to contract on my cock over and over again. Come for me, Pips. Come on my cock like a good girl. Her fingers dig into my shoulders and she moves faster over me, controlling the pace as she lifts up and down. And it's so fucking good. The best goddamn feeling.
I know. And you know we love a good girl.
Oh my God. Good girl. Oh, Wilder.
It's so
Oh,
good.
good
Okay.
boy.
And then
Mm.
our last scene, which is probably the one that like surprised me the most, like when he did it and like what was going on. So, like one of the things on her bucket list was to watch porn with her partner. And so he does that, but he clearly has pre-watched this because he has her watch it while he does the exact same thing to her. And I was
He
just
studied
like,
the tape. He studied the tape.
yes, he did.
Smart.
There's some sports references, I think, that I'm just like, was this something Sanders suggested?
Probably.
Because, but what's crazy to me is like, so like, they start watching this and like Scotty's like, oh my God, like staring at the screen. And then he like doesn't really tell her what's about to happen. He's just like, spread your legs, babe. And I do as he says. As I continue to watch the screen, the man spreading her legs and starting to press his tongue against her clit. I'm so fucking consumed by what's going on that I don't even realize that Wilder is in the same position until his tongue swipes against my soul. And I'm just like, oh my God. Then she says, oh God. I said, oh God.
God.
Right? And it's really fucking hot.
Oh,
So
yeah.
highly.
And then it's like in unison, then like with with the porn going and him reenacting it. It's like Wilder licks me, kisses me, swipes at me just like the man on the screen. The woman writhes under him, playing with her tits, biting her lower lip, moaning ever so slightly. And it turns me on so much that I'm throbbing. I'm ready. I could tip over at any fucking moment. Fuck Wilder, I say, shifting down more. Oh my God, I'm so close. Not yet, baby, he whispers and pulls his mouth away. And then they just like, fuck. Yes.
Yes. I think that's when the
So
orange
good.
dildo comes out from the canvas, right? Like, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, Jesus.
He's like, hey, baby, let's try this really quick. And you're like, okay. Cock rings.
So this book is very, very steamy in
Very
all of the
nice.
best ways. Highly
All the
recommend
best
it.
ways. Yes.
Okay. So what's next? If you enjoy this book, then we're going to say this again. We'll love pretty much everything else Meghan Quinn writes. Would highly suggest checking out Bridesmaid for Hire, Bridesmaid Undercover, and Bridesmaid by Chance if you haven't read that series. They are hilarious and extremely spicy. A couple other great fake marriage books are The Faking Game by Olivia Hale, Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. We also have a podcast episode dedicated to the Paradise Problem. And there's a great kitchen sex scene in there. And then if you love Meghan Quinn, you're also going to probably love everything Lucy Score writes. So a couple good ones there are The Worst Best Man, Rock Bottom Girl, and Maggie Moves On.
It's true. And then join us next week when we dive into the world of romantasy and discuss The Wren and the Holly Library by K.A. Lind. Happy reading, everybody.
Happy reading. Thanks for listening to Late Night Reads. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Late Night Reads Podcast. And check out latenightreads.com for even more information about all the books we're reading. If you loved today's episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. And share the show with your fellow book lovers.